he was mad, and then he kind of calmed down and he said, the roster's thin enough as it is. We need all the guys we can have right now. And now one more guy is out because of you.
There is a match between Meanie and Bradshaw one-on-one on WWE Smackdown. Before we get to that match, you were saying, and I think you wanted to expand upon it, that Meanie's deal was probably only going to be a one-off. And then all of a sudden, it's got a bit longer after the sort of post One Night Stand brawl. What do you know about that? And, you know, any contract extensions or any olive branches, you know, to help Meanie see his way to not suing the company?
Well, that's the main point that Nova and I, that was our guess. We're speculating, but anybody's guess with common sense would probably be after that, the beatdown in the ring, the unsafe work environment, the potential alcohol consumption in the balcony the entire night being filmed, that there would be a viable lawsuit. There would be a credible lawsuit based upon that. And Nova and I knew. And then when Meanie told us, hey, guess what? You know, they're bringing the BWO back and we're going to come back and do this. And I don't think he knew he had the match with Bradshaw until that day. So he had to meet with Vince and Bradshaw. He tells the story in greater detail than we do. I wasn't present for that. But the second we heard Meanie say, hey, guys, we're getting the BWO back together. We're going to be back on TV. Nova and I looked at each other and said, they're only bringing him in to do work, maybe with Bradshaw, or at least being in the same locker room. And when they demonstrate that it's safe, he does not have a case for a lawsuit against WWE. And that's exactly what this SmackDown match shows, that John is not going to hurt me. It is not an unsafe work environment. He got in the ring with him. John was totally fine with him. John put him over, as a matter of fact, clean. So what basis do you have for a lawsuit after that? And right after that match, they gave us a little something with the Mexicals. Then we were gone.
On the big wheels, I seem to remember as well.
The big wheels, yeah. David Benoit and Dominic Mysterio. Before he was Dirty Dom, he was big wheel Dom
on a pole. He was still on the pole. He hadn't been retrieved by Rey Mysterio.
We were fighting for custody of the big wheels after that.
With that being said, could WWE actually be liable for lawsuits when they are? Yes, we know it's simulated violence, but obviously accidents happen all the time. I mean, could WWE have just easily argued that, well, hey, you know, things happen. It's a rough business.
Well, I don't think so, because there were 10 to 15 other wrestlers, if not more, that were in that ring.
But would they have actually gone against WWE and testified against them?
No. What I mean is, when you look at the tape, when you look at the video, there's 10 to 15 other wrestlers or more paired off, throwing punches and doing things, and John is actively seeking out only one person, and that is the only person that was being bloody in the entire brawl. Nobody else was injured. Nobody else was beaten up, bloodied, busted open, any of those things. I'm just looking at it from, if you take that to court, that's without Meanie coming back, sharing a locker room with John, sharing a ring with John, sharing physicality with John, and then John beating Meanie up. Or not beating Meanie up, John putting Meanie over. So if John really had that much of an axe to grind, why would he do business with him? There's all these different, like I said, it's all speculation, but you can look at it, look at the timeline, look at the potential lawsuit between One Night Stand and Meanie coming back to WWE for a short time, and say, yeah, obviously there's some kind of potential for a settlement at least. But they appealed to Meanie's pro wrestling ego, brought him back with the gimmick, and he probably got a bunch of bookings based off of that. And like I'll repeat a million times, probably after you talk about the chair shot, these two get along great. So such a funny world we live in, where this seems like an alternative like timeline or universe compared to where we're living in now, or the opposite.
So I believe when I interviewed Meanie, he said that him and Bradshaw went off in a room on their own. I think he joked somewhere you know, he was surprised that there wasn't, you know, plastic sheeting up the walls and on the floor, you know, to contain all the
The
blood
old
supply.
Lethal Weapon
Yeah,
scene.
the American
Yeah.
Psycho deal. And you know, if Bradshaw started talking about Huey Lewis in the news, that's when he really knew he was going to be in trouble. But no, it turned out not to be that. You know, it was handshakes and apologies, and you know, there were no problems between us, or you know, on Bradshaw's side anyway. And he was going to be a total pro out there. When did you find out that Meanie was actually going to be the one with his hand raised at the end of this? And were you surprised, quite frankly?
No, I wasn't. I found out probably right after Meanie when we were talking a match over, because obviously John has to come to us because there was physicality on me on the outside, on Nova on the outside. We did the whole thing with spray painting BWO on the limo, coming out in the limo with John in the ring. We kind of bookended the show. It wasn't the main event, but it was towards that. So that was, you know, everything needed to be talked about. So there was a lot of discussion and conversations. We did a rehearsal with the limo, and there was some other stuff. We might have rehearsed the placement of certain things during that match, because I had physicality with Orlando Jordan towards the end as well. So there had to be communication. So throughout the day after it was booked, after Meanie went into a room with him, I think Vince was involved, or Triple H. I think it might have been Triple H or Johnny. There was some third party involved to reassure Meanie and then get John and get them in the room together and have them talk it out.
We'll get to the chair shot then. Before you went out there, did Bradshaw say anything to you like, you know, lay it in, brother, or, you know, was it just a tacit agreement that you knew what to do?
Well, shaking our hands, thank you guys. Let's have fun out there. All the standard fare for that. Now let me remind you, I've had my run-ins with Bradshaw during the right to censor and being roughed up by the APA. You know, there's certain things that happened to me where I was always very apprehensive of Bradshaw. And to this day, if I bumped into him or said hello, I would say hello. I'd probably keep it brief and cordial, but I have my walls up and I have my guard up with many people in wrestling, whether on a physical or an emotional level. I keep arm's length with a lot of these people. The people like I said before, that I'm friendly with, I talk to all the time. So I did feel like seeing them or talking to them every day. So when he did that, I didn't think there was going to be any kind of swerve. Now, Meanie was a little suspicious, like, when we get out there, is WWE setting me up, or is it going to be some kind of screw job going on? Which is a natural kind of thing to think about. You're in no man's land out there. You're on their turf, their territory. Anything can happen. You can mask it to look like an accident, whatever. But John, deep down, even though that was a very much a lapse in professionalism, he was about as professional as you can be. It was about the lightest he's ever been, because obviously they told him probably to be extra careful out there. And I would say this, even when John worked the way he normally works, he hits hard in safe places. So it's not him taking, but I think when I was watching it, outside of the big clubbing forearms and everything, even the clothesline was very, you know what I mean? Not from the corner and just jumping and throwing the shoulder and the arm into you. So I could tell there was a level of care that might have been brought down from the office to say, we got to get out of this. And I'm sure there was conversations with, you know, whatever, potential lawsuits amongst the lawyers like Jerry McDevitt and all this stuff in the building, and what can we do to kind of make it go away. Pure speculation, but I feel like you're nodding your head. People are probably nodding their heads. It's not the timeline and the events leading up to that, and also obviously the BW disappearing not long after that, kind of tie into a good theory.
I can't remember what you told me about the chair shot, but you said when we first talked about it that it was not your intention to knock JBL's head clean off his shoulders. But I think a lot of viewers at home, or, you know, the so-called quote-unquote smart marks out there, you were getting revenge on Meanie. Which of the two was it? Were you getting any revenge, or did you just hit him hard or too hard? What do you think?
No, absolutely not, because I didn't hit him any harder than anybody would take a chair shot at that time unprotected to the head. The thing that I was but talking about, really pushing for, was the fact that John was so much taller. And we talked about real wrestlers' heights. He's a monster. So I can't hit him on top of the head cleanly because he's so much taller. So I was trying to get John to be on like one knee, take the chair shot like that to where it's over the top with the seat of the chair. The way it was presented, John was standing as tall as he could stand. I think he bent over a little bit to take it, but that's why the rear part, the back rim part of that, much like the guardrail that hit me in the back of the neck, that's the part that got him on top of the head. Did I swing the chair as hard as I could? I swung the chair as hard as anybody would swing a chair to make the noise. Not to hurt anybody, not to put literally a hole in the guy's head, because he had a hole in his head that needed stable. It was ugly. I saw it. It was about as, and you saw the blood just started pouring out every bit as much as Joey Mercury with the ladder. Like it was pouring out. And yeah, this is not the part where people can, they want to say, yeah, you got revenge and you got him and you stood up for Meanie. No, every single day that this comes up, I feel bad about it because maybe people can say, well, it's Bradshaw because Bradshaw was a bully or whatever you want to perceive him to be. He was a loudmouth. He was mean. He roughed people up. You can think whatever you want, or he's just does a great job as a heel, and that's why I hate him, which means you would want me to get my head clean taken off as right to censor Stevie Richards. It's not what we get in the business to do. It's not what we do. We do not get into the business. We should not get in the business to hurt anybody. We get into the business to make other people look good and get ourselves over at the same time, and they are supposed to try to make us look good while getting themselves over. It's a symbiotic relationship. I cannot, or nobody can be world champion without somebody putting them over. Nobody can do a move to somebody without somebody cooperating and letting them do it. Nor more should I say, nobody can do a move that looks fantastic or even good without the cooperation of the other person. We showed it last week with Mike Blackwell. We showed it this week with that guy Death Row. When cooperation doesn't happen, it gets ugly, boring, and counterproductive to the business real quick. So yeah, and I apologize to John, and he deserved an apology. Independent of whatever he did to Meanie, he deserved an apology. And you know what? I was like, I'll go to the hospital with you. No, that's okay. And he didn't go to the hospital. That Monday, I called him and checked on him. The next week when I saw him at TV, I asked him how he was doing. Can I do anything? Can I get you a drink? Whatever. Not kissing his ass, but showing the courtesy that I hurt a fellow wrestler. And that's like you just talked about not too long ago, Bret Hart and Goldberg. What was Bret Hart's biggest problem after Goldberg hurt him?
He didn't check on him.
He didn't check on him.
Same with Steve Austin and Owen Hart.
Didn't check on him. It's a big thing. It's a big thing, and dare I say it. Now, you might think, well, I don't want to bother him. He's going through a lot or anything. You got to follow through. And, I'm sure Owen cared, and I'm sure to a degree Goldberg cared. They don't seem like very apathetic, mean, soulless people.
But it's almost like embarrassment in that case. I think Owen Hart, I believe he felt terrible.
Could be.
But it's almost like embarrassment, or like that you can't admit to yourself because of the embarrassment of what you've done.
You almost shut down. You shut down within yourself, and you're like, you don't know how to process it yourself, I guess, right? So that's a guess. But with John, I can't say it enough. I was absolutely, completely wrong for hurting another wrestler, JBL or anybody else. I was 100% wrong for that. That's independent and isolated from the one night stand we just watched, from even how Bradshaw treated me in the past. That's not the point of the business. So when people say that, it's great for urban legends. I hate that. And there's still going to be people that said he's only saying that to cover for himself. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to WWE. I'm not going to, Game Changer Wrestling. I'm not going to TNA or AEW. I'm probably never going to see John ever again in my life. So why would I lie? And you know what? If I saw him, what I do? Dude, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Because whatever concussive effects or anything like that, and I don't want to get in trouble because I made Raven mad because I brought up the possibility of cognitive stuff and CTE, but I would ask him how he's doing. And if John was doing rough for saying, man, I'm having a rough time remembering, I'm having a rough time with this or that. You know what I would do? I would call the guy and say, dude, if I even had like a 0.5% to do with what you're feeling right now, I am beyond sorry. I apologize. That's what we do. So maybe that's a lost thing. Maybe people get their stuff in. Maybe people don't care. Maybe it's all about offense now. It seems to be with the products we're watching right now, you know, especially in AEW, dragging the kid across the ring as he's concussed, very like lack of awareness. But I refuse to be that way. If I'm going to be in an outdated era, like caring about a guy that people say I shouldn't care about after all these years, then so be it.
One more thing about the chair shot itself. Did you know you caught him immediately, or did you only see like the full effects after when you were looking down at him and with blood pouring out, or did you only notice at the backstage afterwards, or did you just know you got him straight away?
I didn't even know until I got the gorilla and Taker was waiting for me there, and I looked at the monitor with the replay. You have to think, I hit him with the chair, went right out of the ring with the chair, and then Orlando and I started brawling. Meanie pinned him, left the ring, and then we were outside. Batista had caused the thing with the spine buster and all that stuff and put Meanie on top. So the focus was on Bradshaw and them, but we had peeled out. I think we even went like side ramp, not even up the ramp, because Batista, if I remember correctly, was on top of the ramp smiling about costing John the match. And John was selling it and there was blood. I was already, I think, back to Gorilla to wait for John, along with Meanie and Nova. The entire, if I can remember correctly, Gorilla was empty. Only Taker was there. And looking at me with those eyes. And he told me, and I looked, and I was like, dude, I did not mean to do that. That's an absolute accident. I feel terrible. He was mad, and then he kind of calmed down, and he said, listen, you have to understand, the roster's thin enough as it is. We need all the guys we can have right now, and now one more guy is out because of you. What can you say? Yeah, you're right. It's because of me. So John came back. I apologize. He's smiling, as anybody would, by the way, more times than not. Even if you kill somebody, you come back, hey, brother, how was it? Oh, it was great, man. Thank you so much. That's the attitude he has. I went right up to him, dude, I'm so sorry. No, it's okay. It's okay. Oh, my God. Wow, I think I have a hole in my head, which he did. And then when he went to the trainer, I followed him like a little puppy dog to the trainer and stayed there while they stapled him up. Meanie came up, he shook his hand. How was it? All that stuff. Nova. I stayed there. Dude, I'm so sorry. He's like, it's okay. It's okay. I would not leave his side. You need something to drink. You need water or something. And people can say, once again, whatever they want. That's what the business is supposed to be about. And if he was going to the hospital, I would have stayed with him. If he was staying overnight, I would have stayed with him or been in the waiting room. And here's the other thing, like Brett said, I would have gave him a ride to the hospital, waited and gave him a ride back to the hotel, and probably offered to give him a ride to the airport.
After this, you give an interview to WWE Magazine. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I gave an interview to WWE. This is where the urban legend comes in, where basically I did get revenge from Meanie. That was a receipt. We used wrestling terminology, shoot terminology, I believe, in the kayfabe sense that I was giving a receipt. That was John's idea. I remember we were walking back. It might have been before or after he got stitched. I'm not sure, but it was in the hallway with the bleachers where they usually have like the walks to the ring or whatever. And he said, you know what? I have an idea. And he goes, why don't you go to the magazine people? Or the magazine people were kind of right there. And he got the idea, go to the magazine people and tell them it was a shoot and you got revenge from Meanie and everything like that. I said, are you sure? He goes, yeah, do it, man, do it. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So I did that. And I told this story before. The guy who was waiting for me in the gorilla, and I'm saying I didn't mean to do it. And I said, it was an accident. And I'm so sorry. Ends up reading this article before the next TV and basically thinks that I lied to his face and is about as mad as can be, talking about Undertaker. He called John and he said, hey man, what's up with this article? Did you see this? And did you see, like, he's mad up to, this isn't like the next day. I think Taker's mad for a few days, and it might have been right up until before TV. So if he didn't have a conversation with John, he was having a conversation with me. So John goes, oh, no, I told him to do that. I thought I was right there when he did it, and I told him what to say and all that stuff. Oh, okay. I mean, it was WrestleMania, Austin and Shawn Michaels, and Taker's taping the fist. So yeah. So I dodged the quick hands of Taker that time. They would not have been Seth Rollins' egg beaters, I guarantee, if he got to
palm
me.
Inwards kind of things. Did you?
Yeah, it would have been more along the lines of Dan Spivey hitting Mike Blackwell.
Did you kayfabe the magazine people, or were they sort of in on it as well? And you had
No, they were right there with John and me. John and I were right there. Yeah. But if they had exposed it, it was still touch and go a little bit about the business. You know what I mean? People knew, but you didn't volunteer everything. I'm not, like the people in Retribution. We're not really terrorists. Don't come at us like that. We're going to ruin our own heel gimmick. No, but if that person had said, like, editor's note, this is all fake, John and him were right there, I think that Taker would have taped the fist up for that.
Well, I mean, that's what I was sort of getting at, like Code Red. Well, I don't know if Code Red was still there when you got there, but then, there was Bite This and the website and stuff like that. I didn't realize, like, if there was...
Confidential was there. Confidential.
That was later. That was like
Red.
2002. I think Bite This was like 98, 99, something like that.
No. This is way past that,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
No, the Bradshaw thing's way past
No.
that.
I mean, the question I'm going to ask is, did you always have a slightly kayfabe relationship with those people who put out the official press releases or company-approved interview kind of things?
No, I mean, they weren't clued in, like, hey, by the way, here's the way we make the donuts type of thing. It was literally like they kind of knew, but they were only told what to do stories on, the interviews, and the talent knew to stay within character. So I think it was just kind of an unwritten way of doing things. Like if you did an interview, you put a video up. And also back then, there were checks and balances where I think Vince or somebody in creative or somebody close to Vince would be watching that stuff. Like Howard Finkel, other people would be watching it and then stooge it to Vince before it got on the air.